Good morning. I'm Barry Bryson. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. We're continuing our study of the Gospel of Matthew, and we're in chapter 26 today. Jesus has just completed his final major sermon in the book, his sermon of the end times, and has given his disciples a description of what judgment is going to be like. And now in chapter 26, we're coming to the end of his public ministry, the end of his work on earth, and he's about to prepare for the Passover. And he's reminding his disciples what he's already told them multiple times before, exactly what is about to take place. So we're going to read Matthew chapter 26, and we're going to begin reading with Matthew chapter 26, verse 1, and we're going to read verses 1 through 5. It came about that when Jesus had finished all these words, he said to his disciples, "You know that after 2 days the Passover is coming. The Son of Man is to be delivered up for crucifixion." Then the chief priests and the elders of the people were gathered together in the court of the high priest named Caiaphas, and they plotted together to seize Jesus by stealth and kill him. But they were saying, "Not during the festival, lest the riot occur among the people." So Jesus is telling them what is going to happen, and simultaneously it does happen. And it's what the Old Testament said over and over again was going to happen. The Messiah would be a sacrifice. He'd be a good shepherd, he'd be a victor, but he'd also be the suffering servant, the sacrifice that it's described in Isaiah and in Zechariah and Psalm 22. And this is coming to fruition in real time, in the moment that Jesus says it's about to take place. So this is Feast of Passover week in Jerusalem, and the number of people inside the city walls would double during Passover. People came from all over the empire. Jews came from all over the empire. More Jews outside of Palestine than there were inside Palestine. They would come, some of them for a once-in-a-lifetime trip, to be in Jerusalem for Passover week. Most of them would stay. Those who had incurred an expense to make the travel and the risk to make the travel stay the 7 weeks until Pentecost. So they're there. The Romans are awfully nervous at this time, and that's why an enormous number of troops would come down from Caesarea and would garrison at the fortress of Antonia. And the fortress of Antonia is literally attached to the temple compound. You can stand in the courtyard of the temple and look up and see the fortress of Antonia and see the balcony of the fortress, which is exactly what happens later when Barabbas and Jesus are presented to the people. And that's why Caiaphas, who is high priest this year, only high priest for about 5 years, but one of the best known high priests in Jewish antiquity, very influential. He and Pilate are at each other. They have a legal case pending in Rome as we speak, um, and and he's going to be high priest for about 5 years before he dies. He only dies a few years later than this. He was put in place by Pilate's predecessor. He's not the Jews' choice. His father-in-law Annas was previously high priest, but the procurator before Pontius Pilate decided that a better partner of Rome would be Caiaphas and put him in place not long before Pontius Pilate came. He's an interesting figure. There was recovered an ossuary, a bone box with his name on it, but it was empty. But we do have that relic from someone who's actually mentioned in the Bible. That was found in 1990. I think it resides in the Jewish Museum there in Jerusalem. But anyway, they need to take Jesus by stealth. Jesus still has the approval of the people. They are expecting something big to happen, and something big is about to happen, just not the thing they expect. and therefore they can't just come during the daytime and take Jesus. They need to take him by stealth, and therefore they're going to need an insider to help them, and they're about to get one, and we'll talk about that when we're together next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.